Hello again, and welcome to another episode of MasterMind Minutes. My name's Gary Occhiogrosso. I'm the managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions, and you can learn about Franchise Growth Solutions by clicking on the link below this podcast and learn what we do. MasterMind Minutes, for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, is a very simple podcast with a very simple concept. We have one guest, one topic, one answer. We do it in minutes, not hours. And as we say, we know that sometimes that's a tease. Actually, all the time it's a tease. So at the end of the program, we will give you our guests' contact information, and feel free to reach out if you'd like more information about their services or to speak with them about what they do. And today, my guest is Tim Fitzpatrick. And Tim is an entrepreneur, business owner with expertise in marketing and business growth. Tim's first business was a wholesale distribution company that he co-owned for 9 years. The company grew an average of 60% a year before being acquired in 2005. Since then, as all good entrepreneurs, I will say, he's had failures and successes that have been valuable learning experiences. He started Rialto Marketing in 2013 and has been helping service businesses simplify marketing so they can grow with less stress. As he says, most people overcomplicate marketing, and it doesn't have to be that way. So Tim, thank you very much for being with us today. I appreciate you taking the time. And before we get into our question, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your company, about yourself, what you've been doing?
Sure, absolutely. And thanks for having me, Gary. I'm excited to be here. So, you said it, I'm involved in marketing at this point. We work with a lot of service-based businesses, primarily coaches, consultants, professional service providers, home service-based businesses. And we really help them simplify that marketing by focusing on the fundamentals first, getting those in place, and then helping them implement and execute on their plan. As you mentioned, the first business that I was involved in was a wholesale distribution company. I learned more doing that in 6 months than I did in 4 years of college. It was an amazing experience. I learned just a ton that I've taken with me along the way. So other than that, I'm based out of Colorado. I love getting outdoors, got a family, 2 kids, and I love marketing. So that's why we're here.
Great. What part of Colorado are you in, by the way?
Just outside of Denver. So I'm south of Denver. I'm about 35 minutes south of Denver.
Okay. So out near Colorado Springs, Manitou Springs, that area.
Yep. Like right in between Colorado Springs and Denver.
Well, one of my favorite spots there is a town called Castle Rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm 5 minutes from Castle Rock.
Great.
I live in Castle Rock.
Okay. That's great. Well, okay. So let's get into our topic, our question. Tell us, if you can, what marketing fundamentals are and why they're important. I hear that term a lot. People have difficulty with marketing, and I'll hear people say, well, they don't understand the fundamentals, or the fundamentals are the same, but the product changes. So tell us a little bit about, kind of explain marketing fundamentals.
Sure. So the way I view the marketing fundamentals, I call it the marketing strategy trilogy. The first is you got to understand your target market. Who are you trying to reach? Who are your ideal clients? Who are you going to serve, and how are you going to serve those people? Everything from a marketing standpoint starts with the understanding of your target market. The second one is your messaging. You've got to have clear, engaging messaging to that target market. And the third one is you got to have a plan. What's your plan for getting that message in front of that target market? If you don't have those 3 things in place, your marketing is it's a crapshoot. And that's the biggest mistake that I see most businesses make. They either skip the fundamentals or they miss something, because they're not cool. They're not sexy. Nobody's talking about the marketing fundamentals. Everybody's talking about the tactics. You need to be on TikTok, or you got to have a YouTube channel, or, you got to have your website, whatever it may be. So many people get tactical first before they really get those fundamentals in place. And the challenge is the fundamentals are the foundation that you're building the rest of your marketing house from. So if you skip the fundamentals, you're just building a house without a foundation, which is not going to work long-term.
Well, that makes perfectly good sense to me. And it sounds simple enough. So then I guess to kind of build on the question, why do so many businesses struggle with marketing? Maybe you can add some nuts and bolts to the idea of fundamentals, and then talk about why people struggle because they're not doing some of those things. I'm not sure. It doesn't sound too complicated to me.
Well, it's not, right? The fundamentals in any discipline, I don't think they're difficult. You just have to take the time to master them. So if I'm trying to hit a major league fastball, the way I do that, the fundamentals for that are the same today as they were 50 years ago. They haven't changed. And marketing is no different. Those fundamentals are still the same. And I think so many people they struggle with their marketing because they have skipped at least one of those fundamentals. And like I said, it's not their fault. They don't know what they don't know. Most people aren't talking about them. They're talking about, you got to have a website and you got to do this or that, but you got to have those fundamentals in place. And so I think the easiest place for most businesses to start is to ask themselves 3 questions. Okay. And I'm assuming here that you've been in business for a while. You have past clients. But if you really want to hone in on who your ideal clients are, ask yourself these 3 questions. Okay. First is, who do you enjoy working with? Why do you want to work with people that, make your day a living hell? No point. So first, identify your current and past clients that you love working with. The second is, who are your most profitable clients? If you are going to stay in business, you have to be working with clients that are profitable. And then the third one is, who do you do your best work for? If we're working with clients that we love working with, that are profitable, that we do great work for, our business is going to thrive as a result of that. So I always recommend people start by asking themselves those 3 questions. And that group has people that you answered positively to all 3 of those questions. Now you can start to look at the demographics and the psychographics, right? How they're feeling, the common problems they have, the aspirations they have, the results they're looking for. And inevitably what happens with that single group is you get 1 to 3 subgroups that come out of that. Those 1 to 3 subgroups, those are your ideal clients. And that's where you can start to focus your marketing on.
Well, that's a great explanation of why businesses do struggle with their marketing. So let's use some real life examples. Some of your clients, you mentioned some service clients that you do business with. I don't know what type of clients they are. Maybe you want to pick a client, give us kind of a faux case study, so to speak,
Sure.
on how that might work with sitting with a client, developing fundamentals, and creating the plan, and then executing on the strategy, so to speak.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of a CPA that we work with. Their ideal client types. Okay. When we sat down with them, she started to look at, again, the clients that she enjoys working with, that they get great results for, that are profitable, right? They value what they have to offer. They fell into 2 camps. They were vets and dentists. Okay, so vets and dentists. So she chose to focus her marketing on those 2 ideal client types. And that it doesn't mean that those are the only people that she works with, Gary. It just means that those are the people who she's focusing her marketing efforts on to attract. Okay, most small businesses, we don't have the funds or the resources. We're not Amazon. We can't target everybody. So we've got to hone in on that. And once she had the ability to hone in on, okay, I want to attract vets and dentists, that next step that we can start to look at is, okay, great. Where are these vets and dentists? Where do they congregate? Where are they online? Where are they offline? And we could start to create a list of where they are. So, dentists, there's dental associations, there's the National Association of Dentists. And I'm not getting that name exactly right because I don't remember off the top of my head, but every different industry has an association. There's people that belong to the associations. There's
Yep.
Blogs. that they follow. There's websites where they get their information from. There's groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups that dentists belong to or vets belong to. There are other manufacturers or service providers that call on those dentists and those vets. Once we create that list, now we know exactly where we need to be to put our message in front of them.
Yep. Uh,
Okay.
I understand. It's very interesting because in the world of franchising, when we are out soliciting for franchisees, if we're using, say, LinkedIn as the channel, we're going to create that persona of who we believe our ideal franchise buyer is.
Yes.
And then we're going to message directly to them. We're going to look at categories, different categories. But first, we need to understand who they are, how they consume information, what's of interest to them. So if it's a restaurant brand, we may go into a database that has restaurant owners, people who already own a restaurant. Maybe they want to own a different restaurant, or franchisees, that sort of a thing. What we then do once and by the way, we will do somewhat a similar approach on Facebook, although the mechanism in Facebook is somewhat different. You can't break it down to that detail. However, once we start generating leads, as we say, I'm sure your dentist and vet person is, that's the goal, generate leads. Once we start generating leads, when they get into the funnel, just below the top of the funnel, because the top of the funnel is curiosity.
Yep.
But once they get a little bit in, then what happens is we then take those folks, the data that we know, in particular their email addresses, and we kind of pump them back into, say, Facebook. And we do what we call lookalikes.
Yep.
Where, the algorithms in the platforms that you mentioned, they say, well, if Tim Fitzpatrick likes this and he's this, then there's Joe Smith, who's kind of like Tim, likes the same things. Maybe he would be interested in what you have to offer because they look alike in terms of their persona.
Yep.
So I can't agree with you more when you talk about, creating the fundamentals and the strategies, because to me, this is the beauty of advertising digitally or marketing digitally. You have the advantage to reach the eyeballs that are the most interested in what you have to sell. So why waste your money shotgunning like old school TV advertising or radio ads? That to me is, something that I could never understand. People, what they want to be on the internet, they want to advertise digitally, but they don't use it in a way that was designed to be used. And by the way, I think that designed to be used, that statement lives for about a minute because it evolves every minute and it's designed in a different way every minute.
Yep.
So what would you say some of the most important, if you had to list your top 3, 5, whatever the number is, the most important elements of marketing really for any business, but if you want to stick to your service type businesses, that's fine. But what would you say is the top 3 or 4?
Well, we'll just say outside of the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the most important. So let's just assume you've got those in place. I would say the next one that's critically important is your website. Anything that you are doing from a marketing perspective, whether it's offline or online, is driving people back to your website. The website is the hub for all of your marketing. So if you don't get that right, it's going to impact everything that you do from a marketing perspective. So that, outside of the fundamentals, is the top one that I would say. The other one that I think is really low-hanging fruit for most businesses is email marketing. You've got, from day one, you've got to start building your email list, because your list is something that you own. Nobody can take that away from you. Social media, paid ads, those are channels that can be really effective, but we're renting those. Look at what happened to, former President Trump earlier this year. His Twitter account got shut down. He was gone. Mum was the word after that. Well, if they can shut down somebody like that, they can shut down anybody. They don't care. So if your business is built entirely around a channel that you are renting, I think that is a very vulnerable place to be. So use those channels that you rent to drive people back to channels that you own, like your website and your email list. So I would say top 2, your website, and your email list outside of the fundamentals.
Yeah, again, I agree with you totally. And in a lot of our businesses, a lot of our franchisors, we get them on point of sale systems that collect data, whether it's text data or email. I personally prefer email. I think you have a better platform to put a message out. Again, assuming that you're not, we'll tell folks don't hit someone with an email every other day because they're just going to unsubscribe. But if you have something to say, if you have a newsletter, if you have an offer, shooting them an email, or that to me is like tremendous. And I agree with you. You own that email list once they opt in. You're not sharing that information or that platform with a Twitter or a Instagram or a Facebook where you're not in control. So I'm totally into that. Plus, I like the idea that they've opted in and they're requesting that you send them information. They want to know, so you can keep them engaged. Okay, any last thought that you'd like to leave us with on this topic, and then we'll tell the folks who are listening how they can get in touch with you.
Sure, absolutely. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but don't skip the fundamentals. If you skip them, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money, and you're going to come back to them at some point. So do yourself a favor, get those in place, and then you can start to build from there. Marketing it's an investment. It is not an expense. So you've got to look at it as something that you're going to do consistently each and every month. And if you view it that way, you will get a return on it.
Well, first of all, I will say this. Sounding like a broken record is good because I'm a believer in frequency. People typically don't get the message the first time, so you have to go over and over and over again. However, I will tell you that the vast majority of people, probably under 35, don't know what a broken record sounds like.
Yeah.
So, and I'm guilty. I am guilty of that all the time. When I work with some young people, I will make reference to, an old television show from the 70s or the 80s, and they'll look at me and scratch their head. They have no idea what I'm talking about. So, Tim, if someone wants to get in touch with you to learn not only more about marketing, but perhaps use your services and see how you can help them, how would one go about doing that?
Best place to go is our website, Gary, which is rialtomarketing.com. So that's RIALTO marketing.com. We did put together some free resources for your listeners to help with those fundamentals that we've just talked about. So if they go to rialtomarketing.com/mastermind-minutes, there's free resources there to help them with that. If you get stuck, you're running into roadblocks, just hit the get a free consult button there. Be happy to talk to you for 15, 20 minutes and help you push through those.
Well, that's great. That's great. And I'm glad that you've set up a link specifically for the program. That's very thoughtful of you.
There you go.
We've been talking with Tim Fitzpatrick, who is the founder of Rialto Marketing. Tim, thank you very, very much for being with us. And we have to have you back on because there's so much more that we need to talk about.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gary.
My pleasure.